The drama begins with a tiny baby fighting for his first breath of air. He was born 3 months early. He was so fragile that the nurses whispered he might not live until morning. His parents rushed from hospital to hospital, begging for help, looking for any miracle that could keep their son alive. In the end, the father made a crazy decision. He sold the family's apartment to pay a sorcerer to perform an ancient ritual. They lost their home, ended up in a tiny rented room, and had to start from zero. Even so, every time the father remembers that day, his eyes fill with tears and he smiles. Because, against all odds, that child, Yoon-min, survived. But growing up with a borrowed life left a mark. As a kid, Yoon-min always felt delicate, as if he might break with a single puff of wind. He saw himself as slow, clumsy, the most average guy in the world. He was shy, stayed on the sidelines, smiled to cover things up, but many times he felt out of place. Everything changed when he met 3 boys just as weird and lost as he was. That day the 4 musketeers were born. Inseparable, stuck together all the time, turning their insecurities into jokes and competing to see who was the dumbest of the group. Over the years, that quartet turned into a mix of chaos and tenderness. Tae-trung, the golden boy, always top of the class. He dreamed big. He wanted to become president. But for a genius, he was absurdly dramatic. If his grade dropped by 1 point on an exam, he acted as if the whole country were going to collapse. And unlike typical nerds, he knew how to fight, so no one dared mess with him. Bak hated studying with a passion that practically should be an Olympic sport. He had developed the ability to sleep with his eyes open and called it entering nirvana. His mother was a nun and wanted him to follow the family's Buddhist tradition. He, on the other hand, only wanted a good nap and 0 spiritual responsibilities. Yoon-min saw himself as the average guy from a small town. He didn't stand out at anything. Not in sports, not in academics, and he didn't think he was particularly handsome. But the world didn't agree. Girls, the Kdramas at the market, and even little kids adored him. They thought he was cute, funny, warm. He believed it was all the fault of his half-dumb smile. Secretly, he had a very specific dream: to one day become a legendary DJ. Lastly, there was Do-chin, the big-hearted giant. His great dream was to be a basketball star, but an injury ruined that goal. And according to him, also knocked a screw loose in his head. He spent his time complaining that his parents wouldn't let him adopt B, a full-sized cow he considered the perfect pet. One day, Yoon-min took the 3 of them to the rooftop where he practiced being a DJ. That was his studio, some old speakers, borrowed equipment, and a lot of enthusiasm. While Bak wandered around with a sleepy face and Tae-trung checked everything with curiosity, something clicked in Do-chin's mind. Since he was a kid, he'd claimed to have perfect pitch-pure fantasy, but his faith in himself was so big it was almost funny. That day he decided he would follow Yoon-min and become an artist too. When he announced it at home, his parents literally swept him out of the house with a broom in under 5 minutes. He spent a month sleeping on the rooftop at Tae-trung's house until, exhausted, his parents accepted his decision. That's when his official path in music began. From then on, he and Yoon-min dreamed of playing together at huge IDM festivals in front of thousands of people. Reality, however, was more modest. Their big stage was still the roof of the house. Even so, every night, among tangled cables and laughter, their dream felt real. Just when everything seemed to be going smoothly, life changed the plan on them. Yoon-min's family announced they were moving to New Zealand. After graduation, each one would go their own way and the group would split up. They had never taken a real trip together, not even a decent school excursion, and it seemed that chance would never come. The school organized a trip, but 2 days before, everything fell apart. Yoon-min was mugged by a gang. When he was about to give up, Tae-trung appeared like a hurricane, facing the group all by himself. Yoon-min managed to grab one of the thugs to help him. Do-chin and Bak came running. And in the middle of the chaos, they ended up hitting poor Tae-trung by mistake. The school, seeing the mess, punished all 4, no trip. That night, sitting together, they decided they weren't going to be left with that regret. They would make their own trip, one that truly belonged to them. They would go to Thailand, where their idols performed and where the world of music they loved so much was buzzing. The problem was the usual. They were poorer than ever and none of their parents was going to let 4 teenagers go alone to another country. When everything seemed impossible, Tae-trung stood in front of them and said this would be his last gift as leader of the group. He swore that by sleeping only 3 hours a day and studying like crazy, he could get into the best university. And he did. He got a perfect score on the exam. Do-chin kept insisting he surely guessed at random, but Tae-trung smiled proudly, determined to prove that the idiot of the group could shine. His parents were so happy that they threw a huge party, invited everyone, and the father announced they had sacrificed a whole cow to celebrate. When Du Chin heard that, he silently cried for his beloved B. In the middle of the celebration, the father promised Tae Trung a reward. He didn't hesitate. He asked for a trip to Thailand with his friends. The father went quiet, for boys alone in another country didn't sit right with him. Maybe next time, he said. Those 4 words sounded like a sentence. Next time. Exactly what they feared most. No one knows exactly what happened in that moment, but suddenly everyone's eyes filled with tears. They weren't thinking about universities or jobs, but about the end of a chapter. That could be the last time they were together like that, for kids stuck to each other all day. They hugged and cried as if they wanted to stop time. Then the unexpected miracle happened. Yoon Min's mother stepped forward and, with a trembling voice, said she would pay for the trip. She thanked them for being the friends who had taken care of and made her son happy, the boy everyone once thought was going to die. It was her way of giving the blessing back. The boys screamed, jumped, ran around the house as if someone had handed them the whole world in a little box. The long-awaited day arrived. The 4 of them got on the bus to the airport, laughing, dreaming. Yoon Min even said that in 10 years, when he was a famous DJ touring the world, he would take them as VIP guests to all his concerts. The future looked huge and bright. But life almost never respects the script. On the highway, the bus stopped at a rest area next to a forest. Suddenly, Bach held his stomach and ran to the bathroom. Minutes passed, and when he came back, the bus was gone. Their suitcases, their tickets, their trip had left with it. The only thing they had left was that phrase that started to haunt them. Next time. Before that next time arrived, Yoon Min's family had already moved abroad. 10 years went by. The perfect group slowly unraveled. Tae Trung became secretary to a politician, a member of the National Assembly. His life was pure stress. Speeches, events, schedules. His boss even staged hunger strikes to gain public sympathy. But the team secretly slipped him energy bars. Tae Trung, who still held onto some idealism, tossed one of those bars in the trash in front of him. Don't do that. It's an insult to the office. If you're going to act, at least do it properly. The man pretended to be offended, but seconds later couldn't stop staring at the bar peeking out of the bin. Bach had become a tattoo artist inside the temple where his mother served. She still dreamed of seeing him as a real monk, but he wasn't ready to give up his human desires. He lived between the noise of tattoo machines and the prayers of the temple, trapped between 2 worlds. Du Chin, the most childlike heart of the group, wasn't so lucky. He had gone through a severe crisis. The doctor said he was getting better, but his friends saw that his memory slipped away and his mood swung from one extreme to the other. Even so, the doctor decided to discharge him, trusting in pills and rest. Tae Trung, resolute, decided there would be a reunion to celebrate on the day he was released. That morning, a piece of news on TV stirred something deep inside them. DJ Star, idol of both Yoon Min and Du Chin, would be doing his last tour in Thailand before retiring. That announcement was like opening a box of memories that had been sealed for 10 years. Just as he'd promised, Tae Trung met Du Chin at the old barbecue restaurant they used to frequent. Du Chin, excited, wanted to call Yoon Min right away, but Tae Trung stopped him. It was midnight in New Zealand and he was surely asleep. While they were eating, someone walked into the place, a bald guy in robes. It was Bach, now officially a novice monk. His mother had shaved his head and had him practicing religious life full-time. Even so, the monk sat with them in the smoky restaurant and ordered food like nothing. I haven't transcended my cravings yet, he said calmly, savoring the meat. A little while later a bright-eyed girl appeared. Snail. She had been in love with Tae Trung since high school. Years earlier, some thugs had surrounded her and he showed up, not to fight, but with one gentle warning. They ran off as if they'd just seen the police. Before leaving, he told her, "If they bother you again, tell them you're my girlfriend." That sentence lodged itself deep in her soul. Ever since, she'd been chasing him, visiting his house, running errands, asking for snacks. Tae Trung's mother ended up calling her, "my daughter-in-law." Even though he pushed her away so he could focus on his studies, she never let go of him in her heart. Now she was there, sitting beside him again, stubbornly radiant. He could only sigh and tell her a harsh but very him phrase, that she had the ability, but not the fate. Then he turned to Du Chin and asked what he wanted with all his heart. Du Chin didn't hesitate. "I want to go to Thailand to finish the trip we never took." Tae Trung shot him down immediately. With Du Chin's mental condition, a trip like that was too dangerous. Du Chin insisted, begged, but the answer stayed the same. No. That night he tried calling Yoon Min again, and again got the same excuse. He was busy. For the first time, Du Chin's voice dimmed. His memories dragged him back to when he was kicked out of the house, when he slept on Tae Trung's rooftop. And he remembered something important, that he had never really been alone. Because during that time, every afternoon the four of them would meet on that rooftop. They carried backpacks full of problems, but as they climbed the stairs, they left them behind. Bak arrived smelling of incense, wearing temple clothes. Tae Trung showed up with books stacked to his chin. Yoon Min did such ridiculous things no one could remain sad. Between laughter, arguments, and confessions, they turned the rooftop into their happiest refuge. One day, years later, Tae Trung came home exhausted from work, almost asleep from the fatigue, and found Monk Bak sprawled on his couch as if it were his own house. Seconds later, Du Chin walked out of the bathroom. They hadn't asked permission, but their intention was clear. They needed to talk. The three of them sat down to remember their youth, the trip that never happened, the pain each carried inside. With a broken voice, Du Chin confessed that his mind felt clearer now and that he wanted, even just once, to make that trip with his friends. "Now that I can't we go, even just for a few days?" he asked in almost a whisper. At first there was silence. Then with a long sigh, Tae Trung said yes. Bak clapped. "Then we do it like before. Let's be the biggest idiots in Korea again." The chaos began the next day. Tae Trung went to his boss's office right before an important party event and asked for days off. The man almost fainted. Tae Trung, serious, told him, "If I can't keep a promise to my best friend, how am I going to keep promises to the people?" The boss looked at him like he was an alien, but ended up agreeing. He even tried to give him money for the trip. When he opened his wallet, an empty energy bar wrapper fell out. He stuffed it back, guilty, as if it were evidence of a crime. At the temple, Bak's mother almost passed out when he asked permission to travel. Since he couldn't convince her, he went full drama. "If you don't let me go, I'm going to become Christian. Jesus saves me. Hallelujah." The woman froze like a statue. That was enough to make her give in. On the day of departure, Tae Trung got to the airport first. After a bit, Bak showed up in his monk robes, walking as if he were on a spiritual mission. "What is this? Are you planning to enter the Shaolin temple?" Tae Trung asked him. "Relax," Bak said. "I left before my master could forbid traveling. Escaping isn't in the scriptures." Shortly after, Du Chin arrived dragging several suitcases. Inside he had all of Yoon Min's clothes, and a life-sized mannequin dressed like him. Tae Trung almost fainted. "Are you already messing with weird herbs?" he muttered, but in the end he let it slide. The mannequin would travel with them, as if the fourth friend had never left. Somehow, the three of them managed to get on the plane. The fake Yoon Min went in the cargo hold. Bak entered Nirvana. Tae Trung was praying no one would kick them off the flight, and Du Chin daydreamed about the festival. When Tae Trung went to the bathroom, he heard a familiar voice. Snail was there, proud. "How did you think I'd let my guy go abroad alone? I came to protect you. You might die faster, but at least you'll die for sure with me," she said with her particular logic. When they landed in Thailand, the humid heat smacked them in the face and everything felt new and exciting. At the exit, Tae Trung saw a wallet fall out of a woman's bag. He picked it up and ran to give it back. Grateful, she handed him her phone number written on a piece of paper. Before he could put it away, Snail snatched it from his hand and ate it like a snack. Their driver was waiting for them, a chunky Korean man so peculiar they nicknamed him Pigsy, like the character from mythology. He put them in a flashy convertible. They felt like stars, until Pigsy crashed into another vehicle. Tae Trung tried to mediate, but the old man from the other car slapped him so hard he was left in shock. The police came and discovered the car was stolen. Panicking, Pigsy jumped straight into the sea to escape. The boys were arrested as if they were an international gang. When they caught Pigsy, he blamed everything on them, saying they had kidnapped his family and forced him to steal. The officer believed him, scolding them as if they were dangerous criminals. Luckily, the Korean embassy stepped in and got them out of jail the next day. When they finally got to the hotel, they rushed into their room, imagining a spectacular ocean view. Du Chin ran to open the curtains, and found a gigantic concrete wall pressed up against the window. The cheapest room in the building. To top it off, Snail was sent to a better room. Even so, they refused to let it ruin their mood. They went straight to the beach. Soft sand, blue sea, tourists everywhere. Bak still had his robe on and everyone bowed when they saw him, as if they were supposed to offer him gifts. When they forced him to take it off, underneath he was wearing a t-shirt with a giant Buddha printed on it. Between jokes and running around, they started splashing water. Bach, trying to soak Snail, ended up drenching a big foreign guy. The man stared at him, confused, and Bach could only bow in apology. Later they stepped into a small beach bar run by a Korean woman named Sylvia. She greeted them with a calm smile while Snail frowned as she watched how warmly Tae Trung smiled back at her. Do Chin sat with the Yunmin mannequin at his side, guarding it as if it were real. Even the monks started throwing compliments at Sylvia. Snail, jealous and with her imagination in overdrive, whispered that Sylvia was definitely part of a criminal network and that the man swatting mosquitoes beside her was a hired thug. No one took her seriously. That night, Sylvia invited them to her club. Snail didn't want to go, but by nightfall she was all dressed up, sparkling, excited. She went to get them, and found them snoring theatrically on the bed. Hurt and annoyed, she left the room. As soon as she was gone, the three of them got up like nothing, put on their best outfits, sprayed on cologne and ran out to the club, leaving the fake Yun Min in the hotel. The club was another world. Lights, smoke, music pounding in their chests. They danced, drank, shouted, got lost in the night. Do Chin, emboldened, climbed into the DJ booth and pretended to be the star of the show, waving his arms like crazy. The club staff nearly had a heart attack. Tae Trung and Bach rushed to drag him down. Outside, Do Chin started repeating, the rooftop, with a distant look in his eyes. Something was wrong. Tae Trung rushed back to the hotel to get his friend's medicine. He found Snail alone, in the dark, staring at nothing. "Did you have fun?" she asked with a sad smile. He was speechless. Without yelling or complaining, she only said, "As long as you come back alive, that's enough for me." That line hit him harder than any scolding. He felt his throat tighten, but he knew Do Chin needed him. He ran back to the club. When he got there, a crowd was surrounding the monk. People were filming him and laughing. Tae Trung snapped. He grabbed a chair and swung it like a weapon, scattering the gawkers. Right then, the police arrived. He tried to explain he only had medicine, but the officers tensed up, thinking he was about to pull out something dangerous. Suddenly, Snail came running toward them and took a taser shot full on. She dropped to the ground. They all ended up in cells, again, with Pigsy laughing from his cage. The Korean embassy had to rescue them again. The officer who helped them scolded them with a smile. 10 hours ago you were fine. If you keep this up, I'll have to pay for your tickets home myself." The next day it rained non-stop and no one could go out. Tae Trung noticed that Snail's wrist was scraped from the fall. Without saying a word, he cleaned the wound and bandaged it. She looked at him with glassy eyes and joked, "I'm going to hurt myself every day so you keep taking care of me." Before he could answer, his phone rang. It was his boss, furious. News of the scandal in Thailand had gone viral. They accused him of everything from political agitator to professional idiot. On the phone, he fired him. While Tae Trung sank into thoughts of his ruined career, Do Chin was celebrating the fact that his followers on social media were going up thanks to the travel videos. It was the last straw. Tae Trung snatched the Yun Min mannequin from him and warned him to stop. Do Chin exploded. He accused him and Bach of having forgotten their friend, of treating him like a servant back in high school, and of ignoring him now that he was far away. Tae Trung clenched his fists, but swallowed his anger and left, followed by the monk. That night, Do Chin ended up alone on the beach, yelling for Tae Trung. He hadn't taken his pills, and his mind was falling apart in pieces. When he finally saw his friend coming, he broke down and hugged him, crying. "I thought you were going to run into the sea and disappear," he sobbed. Tae Trung held him, unable to stay mad. They were three again, although deep down, they had always still been four. The next day, the festival finally arrived. It was the famous Songkran, the water festival, and that night DJ Star would be playing. In the crowd they were recognized by the gorgeous girl they had seen before, and she waved to them. Then DJ Star himself showed up and introduced her as his girlfriend. He thanked them for helping her in an earlier incident and, as a token of gratitude, gave them VIP passes. That night, the place looked like another planet. Laser lights, streams of water flying through the air, music blasting into the sky. The guys looked at each other and, for a moment, were 17 again. In the middle of the show, DJ Star saw Do Chin and invited him up on stage to play a track with him. Do Chin went up carrying the fake Yun Min. That moment was for both of them. Tae Trung, Bach and Snail applauded from below, their hearts about to burst. It was a perfect instant. And, like every perfect instant, it didn't last. The next thing Tae Trung knew, he woke up in a dark, filthy place, his hands and feet tied. Next to him were Bach and Do Chin, also bound. They had been kidnapped. The place looked like an organ slaughterhouse. The doctor announced he was out of anesthesia and that he would start the operation anyway. His first piece would be Do Chin. Just as the scalpel was about to come down, an armed team burst in with blows and explosions. They broke down doors, took out guards, and stormed the operating room. The surgeon tried to resist like a madman, but a stun grenade put an end to his show. In the chaos, they freed the boys. In a panic, Do Chin shouted that Yun Min was missing, that he was still trapped. Exhausted, Tae Trung told him the truth. There was no Yun Min, just a pillow disguised as him. Since he wouldn't stop, he gave him a light slap. "We have to let him go," he murmured. But for Do Chin, it wasn't that simple. And that's when the wound they'd avoided for 10 years opened up. After missing the bus to the airport that time, the driver had come back. They got on, happy, thinking fate was giving them another chance. Minutes later, the bus crashed. The passengers tried to escape. Tae Trung carried Bok. Do Chin tried to get Yun Min out, but his leg was broken. He couldn't stand up. "You go first, come back for me," he said, reaching out his hand. Paralyzed by fear, Do Chin stepped back and ran. Seconds later, the bus exploded. Yun Min died there. The weight of that moment turned into a stone on Do Chin's chest. His mind, unable to bear it, created an imaginary Yun Min who had never died. He took him everywhere in the form of a mannequin, as if he still had the chance to take care of him. In front of the burning warehouse, Do Chin ran inside, determined to save at least his friend's image. He hugged the mannequin as if it were the real Yun Min and apologized over and over. Tae Trung and Bok dragged him back out, but they knew that if they didn't recover that disguised pillow too, he might break completely. Tae Trung went back in through the smoke and against all odds, all four came out alive. 3 men and 1 mannequin. One of the rescuers muttered that in 20 years of service, it was the first time he'd saved a pillow. With no time to rest, they ran to the airport. Once again, they were late. The plane was already about to take off. Desperate, Tae Trung cried as if someone had ripped his future away. Then the most unexpected figure appeared on the runway. Snail, running in front of the plane, waving as if she were in a romantic movie. Security stopped her immediately, but she managed to get close to Tae Trung. With a trembling voice, she said she knew she wasn't his type, that she had no degree or anything special, but that ever since she bumped into him, she had only had eyes for him. She put a ring in his hand and declared, "From today, we're dating." Tae Trung froze as they dragged her away. When he finally reacted and shouted her name, she turned like she'd just heard the best "I love you" in the world. Panicking, he pulled off the ring and said no, that it wasn't right, that it couldn't be like that. But some decisions are made without asking the heart's permission. Back in Korea, Tae Trung's boss won the party leadership, but was so weak from his hunger strike that he could barely speak. Reporters asked for a statement, so Tae Trung translated, "I didn't do anything. I owe everything to my secretary, Tae Trung. I'm ashamed of how brilliant he made me look." The politician almost fainted for real this time. A month later, thanks to Tae Trung's daily visits and pleas, they released Snail. She came back with all her emotions on edge, and discovered the monk was wearing her ring. She snapped and almost beat him to death, until Tae Trung ran over, took it off him and, this time, put it on her properly. They finally became a real couple, no half measures. Bok returned to the temple to continue his spiritual path, to his mother's joy. More stable now, Do Chin started working at a travel agency, ironically helping others see the world. One day, the 3 of them went together to Yun Min's grave. The monk tried to cry, but no tears came out. "Too much time has passed," he said quietly. "He wouldn't want to see us crying forever." The wind blew softly, as if someone were patting their shoulders from somewhere else. And so ends the story of 4 boys who held each other up through fear, screw-ups, pain, and laughter. Their first trip together wasn't just a delayed vacation. It was the journey they needed to face loss, forgive themselves, and move on. Of those 4 friends, one who hid in work, another in religion, another in his own madness, and one who left too soon, the 3 who remained finally learned to walk toward the future without letting go of the most beautiful memories of their clumsy, bright friend, who smiled like the sun. End of the drama.